Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio. Your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thank you so much for joining me here at USA Global TV and Radio. I really appreciate it. For those of you who are new to our network, we are currently streaming on our two YouTube channels, which are USA Global TV and Radio, and also Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, as well as many places on social media. And then we're also distributed by other networks. So today we're going to be talking about the invisible side of IBD. And if you're not familiar with it, I'm going to give you a brief overview of what it is. And then my objective is to educate and bring awareness. I am not a medical doctor. I have a doctorate in business administration, but I am not a medical doctor. So full disclosure, I am a patient. I have had ulcerative colitis since August of 1991 was when I was diagnosed at the University of Pennsylvania. And so much of my life has been spent living with this disease. And so as a result, I have become actively involved with the Crohn's Colitis Foundation. And they have an upcoming event, which is the Take Steps Walk, which is at Citizens Bank Park. It's going to be happening this May. So please stay tuned and I'll give you some more overview. But first of all, if you're not familiar about Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis, you may have heard of these. You may have seen commercials on television. There's a lot of commercials about the invisible side of the disease and what it looks like. And maybe you or someone you know, someone in your family have ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease or IBD. It's not something that people generally like to talk a lot about. It is a chronic, lifelong condition. And basically what happens is that the gastrointestinal tract or the GI tract becomes inflamed. So depending on where it is inflamed really has a lot to do with whether the diagnosis is Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis or I should say. And again, I am not a medical doctor. So these are autoimmune related conditions. And basically it means that our immune system is mistakenly attacking our own body, our own digestive system, which causes a lot of inflammation and damage and a wide range of symptoms. So something that I really want to be very clear about is having had this disease for 30 plus years is I've had people say to me, it's in your mind. No, it's not in my mind. Or why don't you just get over it? Or you must be stressed out, or you're bringing this on yourself. No, all of those things are not true. And I think sometimes people say these things because they don't know what to say. I'm hoping that people are coming from a positive place and they really mean well. They just don't know how to help. And so if you are experiencing any of the symptoms of IBD, Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis, then it might not be something that you feel comfortable even talking about. And you might not even be aware that that's what you have. So again, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm a doctorate of business administration. So please do consult with your physician, your gastroenterologist, and look for help. You need to go no further than the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. So if you are experiencing symptoms that you haven't had before, or maybe they've been persisting for a long time, it could be anything from diarrhea, running to the bathroom multiple times. You might have a slight fever. You might be exhausted. You might even be vomiting. There are so many different scenarios, but your body is telling you something. It's telling you, hello, I need help. Please help me. And so I know for myself back in 1991, when I was a much younger person, it wasn't anything I really wanted to tell anyone about. I was so ashamed. I didn't know what was going on with me. And in my case, and again, I'm sorry if this makes you feel uncomfortable, but it's part of the disease, you're bleeding rectally. And so all of a sudden you have blood in places that you never had before. And it's kind of a very scary moment. So I know for me that I finally had to tell someone, and I decided to tell my mother, and she didn't know what it was. And so then you have me being upset, and then she's upset. And then finally I had to agree that I would go and see a doctor. And so at the time, and I don't know if it's different today, but getting into the University of Pennsylvania to see a gastroenterologist, that takes a while. You're not just going to call up and they're going to say, oh, hello, we're just sitting around waiting for you. And if they do, that's an absolute miracle because they must have had cancellations. But don't wait. Go to the emergency room. That's what my gastro always said to me. If I had symptoms coming up and I couldn't get in, go to the emergency room and seek help right away. Because what ends up happening, the more that you're bleeding, the more that you're becoming anemic and you're losing iron and you're having less and less energy. And so you need some help. So in my case, I went to University of Pennsylvania and I saw Dr. Gary Lichtenstein, who is absolutely brilliant. I don't know if he's retired yet, but he is amazing. And he's a big advocate of the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation as well. And so he gave me a diagnosis. And I've shared this before. I actually wrote a book about it. But when he told me that I had ulcerative colitis, I remember just looking at him and he was wearing his white lab coat with his name on there. And I kind of just checked out for a moment. It reminded me of that moment, if you've seen Breaking Bad, when he gets the cancer diagnosis and the doctor has like mustard or something on his lab coat. It was kind of like that moment where you're there, but you're not really there. And all I could think of was, I have now been diagnosed with a chronic incurable disease. What am I supposed to do with this information? And for a moment, I just thought to myself, I don't think anyone's ever going to love me. I don't know how anyone could love me because now I have this disease. And I always prided myself on being attractive and sexy. And I thought, I'm not sexy. I'm not provocative. I'm just disgusting. I actually just labeled myself. And I'll never forget that moment because I've learned and I've grown so much from then. But if you are feeling that way, if this is what you're going through, or if you have a family member who has these symptoms or has a diagnosis and they are feeling these things, they might not even tell you, but the behavior starts to change. So if it's actually happening to you, you may notice your own behavior changing. You may notice that you're no longer accepting invitations to do things, that you're basically timing everything by when you have to go to the restroom. And I know the Crohn's Colitis Foundation has had, at least in the Philadelphia, Delaware chapter, you can find out where the restrooms are in various areas. And that's really important. So the first thing I want to just get out there is, if you're watching this show and you think it's funny, or you think it's disgusting, or you're making judgments, you have to ask yourself, why? Why are you doing that? Why would you judge someone going through a hard time? That maybe hard times come for all of us, right? All of us go through hard times. So if you don't understand it, then watch shows like this, read books, get information so that you do understand it. Because I don't know what the stats are today, but it's pretty high about how many people have ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease, or some form of IBD. Now, once you know that you have it, you have to be selective about how you share that information, because if you're not emotionally prepared for how people may show up, that may set you back. And what do I mean by that? Well, I remember many, many years ago, again, I was diagnosed in 1991. I was in the dating scene, and I really thought it was important to tell people I was dating that I had this. And my dad used to say, you don't have to tell everyone everything. But I thought, you know what? Let me just put it out there and see who sticks around. And what I found for the most part was that men did not want to hear that. In fact, one guy who I really liked, we went out a number of times. I told him probably on the third date, and he said I was disgusting, I was dirty, and he didn't want anything to do with me. And he just labeled me with those things because of his fear of ulcerative colitis. He didn't know anything about it really, but in his mind, it's the dreaded bathroom disease. And it is dreaded and it is a bathroom disease, but it's part of life for many of us. And so, as a high performing individual of myself, I never let it define me. What I did was I let it control me. So I let the disease manage my life. And what do I mean by that? Well, at the time, I was in corporate and I traveled quite a bit for work. And so there were times when I could not even go in the office and I would have to tell my boss, eventually I had to tell him the truth because you have enough excuses of why you can't make it into work and people start to wonder. And I had to tell him what I had. And I'll never forget what he said to me was, can you take some Pepto-Bismol? No, I cannot take Pepto-Bismol. And I remember one of my senior executives said to me at one point, do you think you have enough energy to keep doing this job? Fascinating, right? Fascinating comments that people would make. Why? Because they don't understand. So there's no judgment. It's just a matter of providing the education. So that is why I'm here today. So once I got the diagnosis and I was letting the disease manage my life, I found that I was very isolated. And I was very blessed because I could work from home. So I was working from home, but I wasn't going out that much. In fact, I had a home gym. So I was working out at home. And then at some point, I had to get back in the world. So I would say since 1991, I have had active ulcerative colitis flares for at least 3 to 6 months every year, except for 2 years when I was on a break. I was in remission. And my last flare was last year, and it was the worst one I've ever had. It lasted for about 8 weeks. So it was about 2 months. And simultaneously, my apartment had been flooded. So I had to move into a hotel. Now, people said to me, you know why you have this flare, don't you? No, why? Because of the flood. No, that's not why I had the flare. The flare is because I have an incurable chronic disease. And so it shows up when it wants. Does stress make it worse? Sure, but I'm pretty good at managing stress. So my point is that by going back in the world, there's reality checks. And one of the most important reality checks is, where is the nearest bathroom? And again, if this makes you uncomfortable, you don't have to watch, but this is the reality. And not only where is the nearest bathroom, but do they have high ceilings so that any noise will be reverberated out? Are they playing music? Is it just one stall? Is it at a restaurant where there's just one bathroom and people are going to be waiting in line? All these things go through your head. And once you start to process it, you start to eliminate places where you're going to go. And then if you are someone who's active and you like to be outdoors, I was loving walking, especially during the pandemic. I was on an island with my mother, and really the only exercise aside from my personal gym was to go for long walks, even in the cold weather. And so I would have to map out, where are the bathrooms, their public restrooms, are any of them open? And if they're not, you're not going anywhere. And so ultimately, what ends up happening to most of us, not all of us, is the dreaded accident in public. You literally lose control of your bowels in a public place, and the shame and the embarrassment and the feelings that go along with that, at least for me, pretty much indescribable. They are times in my life I will never forget. But what is most important is I remember the people who stood by me and who helped me, and the people who mocked me. At one point, I was at a restaurant and I was with a couple of people. And so what happened, and they literally got up and left me there. And I was there in the restaurant, in the booth, by myself, in this precarious situation alone. And it was one of the lowest moments of my life. But yet, here I am today. I've managed to go on. And so that's why I come here to let you know that if you are someone with ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease or IBD, you can have a very productive and wonderful life. You have to make choices, of course, lifestyle choices. My latest lifestyle choice is that I have given up sugar and alcohol. And the only alcohol I ever drank since college really is Chardonnay. And I really liked my Chardonnay, having some Chardonnay at the end of the day, just relaxing. But I decided to give it up. So today's day 30. I never did any narcotics. I've never smoked. I have a pretty boring life when it comes to me personally. I think professionally, my life is very exciting. But the fact that I'm in remission and that I've made life choices that are good for me, I'm down 6.1 pounds. My blood pressure is perfect. I used to have to take blood pressure medicine twice a day, and now I'm just taking it once a day. And hopefully I won't have to take it, but I'm not going to just go off it without having a doctor's approval. But you can have a productive and high quality life. Where does it start? It starts with acknowledging that you are not the disease. You have a disease. It's a dis-ease. Okay, all of us are going to have something at some point in our life. That's just the way life goes, right? We have these challenges we have to deal with. So how can you take your challenge and turn it into a positive? Through your mindset. Number one, through your mindset. And number two, by reaching out and getting help. How can you get help? Well, the Crohn's Colitis Foundation is a great way to get help. They have seasoned professionals all across the world. I actually was in Vienna over the summer and I went for a walk, and there's a placard on the side of the building, Crohn's Colitis Foundation. I took a picture of it. I thought, oh my gosh, they really are worldwide. And so you can get involved by helping other people. And if you are a caregiver, you probably need help yourself. I was a caregiver for my mother. She had dementia, and it was a long 3.5 years. And then she ultimately died of cancer. And that came on very quickly. Within a month, she had passed away. But being a caregiver is a very tough thing to do. But here's what I want to share with you. Whatever it is that you're doing, you have to accept the fact that there is no cure at this moment, but through donations and funding through the Crohn's Colitis Foundation, there are new opportunities for patients like me, patients like you, to find ease and find comfort. It's just a matter of talking to your gastroenterologist. And if you don't like your gastroenterologist, I've heard people say that, I don't like to go to the gastroenterologist, it makes me feel uncomfortable, find another one. Contact the Crohn's Colitis Foundation. They can make recommendations of doctors in your area. So you're not alone. And the fact that we have more options today as patients just goes to show you that by donating and by getting involved, there is research and development that are coming up with not a cure, but we're getting closer. We're getting closer. And so in my lifetime, what I've seen in terms of the options that are available today from 1991, it's enormous. There's a lot of biologics that really help. And again, it's mindset. It's knowing that you're not alone. It's potentially joining a support group. I ran a support group for a number of years, and it was really rewarding. It's also tiring, to be honest with you, if you ever run a support group. And I was told this when I first started, because not only are you suffering with your own illness, but you're now helping other people who are also suffering, and they're looking to you to come up with the magic pill, the magic wand to make things go away. So the answer in that case is you do what you can, and then you take a break and let someone else run the support group, and then you come back. But for someone who needs a support group, staying involved on a regular basis, you have a whole new community of people in your life. And if you think about it, most people in your life will not understand what you're going through, but patients do. Advocates do, caregivers do, physicians do. So you can feel comfortable sharing what's going on with you. I mean, I could tell you stories right now, even as a television host and a TV producer, what I've had to go through broadcasting when I've had ulcerative colitis, but I know that many of you will not want to hear the story. So I will not go through them. But if you'd like to contact me, I don't mind telling you personally. I've no shame in sharing what has been going through my life and what's been happening with me. So one thing I can share is when I was in corporate, we sold meetings and events. And I'll never forget, I was in Florida at this event that we sold, and it was for a huge company, and they had hundreds of people who were attending. And our staff was by the elevator doors waiting for the attendees to come back from whatever events and get into the elevators and go to the next place. And this man and this woman were not involved with the event, but he was wearing a suit, she was wearing a suit, and they're probably in their 50s or 60s. And they were kind of running. He was kind of shuffling to get to the elevator. And I saw behind him, there was a whole trail of waste. He was losing control of his bowels as he walked. And the two staff members just started laughing. They were laughing out loud. And in the meantime, I could still get upset about it. My heart was breaking for the guy because I know what that's like. I know what that's like. So, why do I tell you this? Because what you think is funny when you see someone losing control of their bowels is probably the worst day that they've ever had up until that point. There's no getting past that. There's no getting past that. Just think about it. You're publicly humiliated. You've soiled your clothes. Your clothes are probably clothes you, even if you could get them cleaned, you never want to wear again. You're with someone who witnessed it. Strangers have witnessed it. You don't even know, with today, people taking photographs of it. And I recently read an article about someone who had IBD or ulcerative colitis or Crohn's. They were on an airplane and they got sick, and everyone was filming it. People were filming it and putting it on the internet. And my heart just broke because I know what that's like. Not on an airplane. I would actually not eat or drink anything for 2 days before I got onto a plane. A tiny sip of water. I was constantly dehydrated. But the more water you have, it is now in your bladder, and the bladder is pushing against the bowel, and you have that feeling of having to go. So I know what it's like. I am here for you. And there are plenty of other people at the Crohn's Colitis Foundation who are here for you as well. Is it something we don't want? Absolutely. But you know what? I wouldn't be who I am today if I didn't have it. I wouldn't be standing here telling you about my journey. And my journey, as far as I'm concerned, is pretty incredible. I can't believe where I am today versus where I used to be. But ulcerative colitis is a part of who I am. And until there's a cure, it will always be part of who I am. And the people I've met on this journey, it's absolutely unbelievable. So I'll tell you now about how I got introduced to the Crohn's Colitis Foundation. And then I'm going to talk about take steps. And then we're going to talk about what your role can be in helping yourself and helping others. So back in 2018, a friend of mine suggested that I get involved with the Crohn's Colitis Foundation. And up until this point, I had managed to keep it relatively quiet. I mean, my family members knew, my close friends knew, and it was not unusual for me to be with people and be like, I got to go to the bathroom. I'll be back. Oh, I got to go. Maybe in the course of 2 hours, I might run to the bathroom 10 times. And when I was really sick, it wouldn't be unusual to be running to the bathroom 50 times. And how would I know? Because I'd be counting. I'd be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Sometimes I'd be crawling to get to the bathroom. And there were times when I just slept in the bathroom because I was so tired. It is exhausting. You're losing a ton of blood and you have that urgency that you have to go. And I wouldn't wish it on anyone. So I decided I would go and meet this person from the Crohn's Colitis Foundation. And so I didn't eat for 2 days. And I was a nervous wreck because all I kept thinking about was, now I'm going to get in the car and I'm going to be driving. And what if I get sick? What if I get there and I'm sick? What if I'm sitting with the person and I get that's all I could think about. But my friend said, please go and meet this person. So I met this person at a restaurant and I sat down and I was a nervous wreck. And I said, listen, I can't eat anything. I can't drink anything. And I don't know how long I can sit here because I might have to run to the bathroom. And he said to me, Jacalyn, I understand because I'm a patient too. I thought, wow, oh my gosh, someone understands where I'm coming from. And he said, I totally get it. I've been a patient for a long time and I understand you don't have to feel nervous. You don't have to be anxious. Woo, all of a sudden, I felt like things had changed, that someone was sitting across from me, not judging me, not trying to fix me. And by the way, that's what we do as humans, right? We try to find a solution to our loved ones' problems. We try to find a way to fix them. And there is no fixing except being understanding and being a good listener. And so by the time I left that meeting, I felt like destiny had taken me there. And then I became involved with the Crohn's Colitis Foundation. And I'll never forget the first event I went to. Dr. Neil Nandi was there. I think he's at Penn now. And he welcomed me. I was nervous because I was by myself. We're meeting at a huge stadium. And, where are the bathrooms? Where are the bathrooms? And so he totally understood because he's a gastroenterologist. So there's a level of comfort that you get when you get involved with the Crohn's Colitis Foundation. It's almost like you found your tribe, you found your people. And so I'm now a board member. I've been a board member, I think, since 2019. And the Crohn's Colitis Foundation has a number of events. One of the events is the Take Steps Walk. And so I have a team. I've been involved for a number of years. I don't know how many walks this is. I did take about a year off because after my mother died, I really just needed some time to self-care and get myself back on track. And so the Take Steps Walk this year is May 16th. It's a Saturday night and it's at Citizens Bank Park. And that's in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, in the United States of America. And if you look at the pictures that are surrounding me, you'll see pictures of various events. Some of them are Take Steps Walk. And then the one right next to me is for my the Evening of Hope Gala with my mother. And then you'll see me in the poopy hat. And then you see my family members at the Take Steps Walk. And so it's really quite a thing when you have people who love you and care about you who are showing up and getting involved. So I'd love to have you join me on my team, whether you can walk in person or whether you can make a donation. And I know there's plenty of places where you can give your money. I donate to other causes as well. But if you think about it, think about someone who right now is being diagnosed with Crohn's or colitis or IBD and how alone they feel. And the fact that the research has brought, the R&D has brought so many new options for patients. And that's where the money goes. So when you make a donation, it actually goes directly to the Crohn's Colitis Foundation. So how can you make a donation? Well, I'm going to actually go and get my link. You can make it through Facebook, which is pretty cool. And you can also go ahead and donate whatever amount of money you feel will work for you. So I'm going to share the link right now. And I'd love to have you donate $5, $10, $15, whatever it is that you feel you can donate, because every dollar really does make a difference. And again, you can donate anonymously. You don't have to put your name. It's not about who makes the biggest donation. It's about all of us coming together. So if you're not making a donation, if you're watching this show and you're not making a donation, ask yourself why. Do you have $5 extra that you could donate? And I personally give a shout out to everyone who makes a donation. If you don't want your name mentioned and you want to be anonymous, that's terrific too. It's not about putting your name out there if you don't want it, but please do consider making a donation and or joining my team, Dr. J's Colitis Crew. So the night of the event, again, May 16th, 2026, you can see it there behind me in Citizens Bank Park. We will be there with our own table, and I'll also be signing books for my newest book, which is My Tummy Hurts. And that is a book to help educate children on the fact that they're no different than anyone else. They're still the same. They just have something that they have to deal with. And talking to children in terms they can understand about ulcerative colitis. So the book is about a little girl named Jackie. Hello. And what she goes through with her tummy hurting and to get the diagnosis of ulcerative colitis. So I'll be signing those books at the Citizens Bank Park on May 16th. So if you'd like more information, you can reach out to me directly. And hopefully you know where to find me. I am very easy to Google and find, but you can also find me on my websites, which are USA Global TV and Radio, and also Dr. Jacalyn. These are our 2 YouTube channels. Please do subscribe. If you're watching somewhere else, like LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, on a distributor platform, please go over to YouTube, because YouTube gives us real information about who's watching, how long they're watching, what content is really resonating. And also, YouTube keeps our content up there, whereas Facebook takes it down after 30 days. So again, subscribe to our channels if you would, USA Global TV and Radio and Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Okay, and again, before I log off, if you would please go over to this website. For those of you who are listening on a podcast platform only, the website is Take Steps, TAKESTEPS Crohn's Colitis Foundation. I'm going to spell that CROHNSCOLITISFOUNDATION.org. And you can look for my name there, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and you can go ahead and donate there. Thank you so much for watching. We're going to go over to our sponsors, and we'll be right back after this message with our next program. Stay tuned for another episode of Take Steps next week. Bye for now. USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents Tracy Cram-Perkins, a dementia caregiving survivor teaching how to balance care with peace of mind. #1 resource for dementia caregivers. It's the book Dementia Home Care: How to Prepare Before, During, and After. Over 17,000 copies sold of this must-have guide. And now a testimonial from Tracy Smith.
If I was to describe this book to someone who is going through a similar situation, I would underscore how important it is to have some sort of a tool or a guidebook to help you through certain stages. And there's so many, it's such an unknown topic to the average person. And to have this as a reference is essential. It's going to help you get through it personally, as well as help your loved one manage.
To learn more, go to TracyCramPerkins.com. Tracy Cram-Perkins is an award-winning author. She's also the host of Dementia Home Care television show. Watch it here on USA Global TV and Radio.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA Global TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.